Good afternoon, Brain Warriors. So we have been working on the warrior mindset. To go on with mindset, let's talk about your inner child a little bit and what else we can talk about. One of my favorite quotes when we talk about why is it necessary to even think like a warrior? Why do we need to do this? What's the importance of it? And a lot of people say, well, it's too hard. I don't want to be a warrior, or I want to be a peaceful warrior. I don't want to think about fighting. That's okay. You can be a peaceful warrior. But one of my favorite quotes in martial arts is, "Master, why do you teach me to fight but speak of peace?" And the master replies, "Because it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." And that's really what we want you to start thinking about, is that it is a war out there. If you think about the fact that our health is being hijacked by companies who deceivingly make foods to hijack your taste buds, to make you addicted to their foods. You know, news companies who create negative messages because they know that the human brain is hardwired to pay attention to negativity out of survival more than they are to positive messages. You know, the gadgets that steal us and take us away from the people we love. If you think about all of those things, it's a war. If you've ever been sick, you know it's a war. If you take care of a child who's been sick, you know it's a war. But it's a war you can win. So that's why, like the master in martial arts says, it's better to be a warrior in a garden, if you create that garden, than a gardener who's not trained in the middle of a war. And that's why we're doing this. So let's talk about this. I did a live chat with my daughter. If you haven't seen it, go. It's really fun. You should take a look at it. I did that last week. And it was just really cute because she's just really got this down. For someone who's only 13, sometimes she amazes me. But she was telling me how, she was going through kind of a hard time and a little bit feeling a little down because some things were going on in her life. And she turned it around on her own. And she all of a sudden said, I can find the positive in any negative. And that's how she was able to turn it around. So a little like us saying, kill the ants, she was able to start finding the positive in any negative. So as you engage on this journey of health, you're going to have moments that feel hard or that feel like you don't want to do it, or you feel overwhelmed, or it's confusing. That's okay. All right. So what? So feel that way, but find the positive in that negative. Why are you doing it? Why is it important? Stay connected to the positives in it. Stay connected to your why in essence. That's really what we're saying. And I want to talk about one thing. This idea of PMS, not the kind of PMS you're thinking of, but in martial arts where I train, we actually have this acronym of PMS, and it's something they use when people are starting out in martial arts. I know when I started there, I was overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, this is overwhelming because my body doesn't work like this. Like I was, the moves are complex. They're bilateral. I'm not left-handed. Everything was confusing, and I felt just ridiculous trying to do some of the things they wanted me to do. My body doesn't function that way, right? At least it didn't then. So my master said, don't worry about it. It's normal. That's normal when you start anything new. And he said, we call it PMS. And I'm like, what? What does PMS have to do with this? And he just laughed and he said, no, P stands for primitive. You're in the primitive stage. The primitive stage means it's brand new. It feels completely foreign to you. You feel awkward. You feel like you're never going to get it. You have to just trust me. All right. You got to just trust me. You have a mentor that guides you through it. And you just put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. Okay. That's the phase you're in if you're just starting out. That's primitive. Just follow the instructions. Okay. Just follow the book. If you've got the book, follow the book. If not, follow me on the live chats. So that's the primitive phase. You're just going to keep following along. And eventually it's going to start to feel more and more natural. M is mechanical. Now that's the next step. It doesn't feel like, it's not like so foreign. It's not so overwhelming. It's not so, it doesn't feel so crazy like you're never going to get it. It's like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand the concept. It still feels awkward. I still have to think about it really hard. I have to work at this. That's mechanical. So you're still thinking really hard about it. That's a mechanical phase. So you go to a restaurant, you read a menu, it's not natural to you. You don't know what to just order spontaneously. I don't even think about it when I go into a restaurant. I already know ahead of time what I'm going to order for the most part. So because I already know I'm not going to order one of the meals they have preset, I'm going to order within the menu what I want from it. But if you're in the mechanical phase, you're like a little nervous about it because it's not natural yet. And then all of a sudden you slip into the spontaneous phase, which is, I don't even think about it, right? That's that phase in martial arts that we always want to be in because you react instantaneously. You react, it's instinct. Well, that's where we want you to get to, and you will if you just stick with it and know that this is normal. Those feelings of overwhelm, that's a normal part of the process. And some of you, when you're getting started on a program, you actually feel less overwhelmed if you just start the whole thing all at once. If you're like me, I'm like that. It's like, give me everything I need. I need all the tools. I need all the information. I'm going to jump the canyon because I feel like I can't cross a canyon in 2 small steps. I feel like I'm going to fall. But there are other people who would rather walk down the canyon, across, and back up the other side because they feel like if they try to jump, they're gonna crash. So they would rather take tiny steps, go down, cross over, and come up the other side. Neither way is right or wrong. They're just different, okay? If you're a tiny step person and you try to do it all at once, you're gonna feel overwhelmed. If you are a jump the canyon kind of person and you're trying to do tiny steps, you're gonna get frustrated and bored and you won't do it. You won't stay interested. So that's what I wanna touch on with that. But really what I wanna get to today is parenting your inner child. So many of us, I know a lot of you on here are parents. If you're not parents, maybe you've babysat. And I want you to use that as your guide. So if you have, done any babysitting or you have children of your own, I want you to think about how you parent. Hopefully it's by being firm and kind. Hopefully it's by being loving. Okay. But so often we don't think about parenting our inner child. We don't think about when that inner child just completely runs amok and takes over, throws temper tantrums, because that's exactly what happens. So you've got this, this internal 2-year-old or 4-year-old going, I want what I want when I want it, how I want it. I don't want to be deprived. I want to have, double fudge chocolate sundae for dessert, and I should be able to have it because I don't want to be deprived. That is your 4-year-old, taking control and throwing a temper tantrum, even though you know it's bad for you, even though you know it'll make you sick, and you give in to the temper tantrum. Well, what happens when you give in to the temper tantrums of your kids? You create spoiled, entitled kids, right? Well, you're creating a spoiled, entitled inner child who then takes control, and you lose control over your thoughts. And we don't want you doing that. We want you to think like a warrior, and warriors have control over their thinking. So we want you to get control over that inner child, and you parent the same way you would your kids, by being firm and kind. Know that those thoughts, feelings aren't facts. Okay, so how you feel about something, what your inner child is telling you you should or shouldn't have, isn't necessarily true. Feelings are not facts. So you can discipline that inner child. And by the way, your children in real life, not your inner child, but your actual children, they don't do what you say, they do what you do. So they're watching you. And if you're telling them not to give in to peer pressure and to be strong and to be their own person, but you're giving into it every time you see it, or once someone says, oh, don't be a party pooper. Well, why should they be party poopers when someone offers them something bad for them? So I just want you to think about disciplining your inner child, because it's one of the most important things you can do as a warrior. And I've got my child walking down the stairs in the back. So next thing for today for mindset is accurate and honest thinking. Not positive pie in the sky thinking. People are usually surprised when we say that. We don't want you thinking positively like, everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be perfect. It's going to fix itself. Well, it's not going to fix itself if you don't fix it. Okay, we want you to have accurate thinking. Know the truth and the truth will set you free. That's one of my husband's favorite lines. Know the truth and the truth will set you free. Read labels, because I guarantee you thinking that, positive thinking, I can eat this and it's not going to hurt me. That's a lie. Okay, so know the truth and the truth will set you free. And denial, don't have denial. So let's see, what are some of the barriers and lies you tell yourself? I don't want to be deprived. I hear these all the time. I travel too much. My family doesn't support me, and it costs too much money. Those are all lies. If you really want to do something, you will find a way. And if you don't, you will find an excuse. So if those are your excuses and you're giving in to them, you need to think about one thing. Are you willing to pay the consequences? It's okay if you give in to those excuses, But just know, it's the same thing I tell my daughter all the time. Now that she's 13 and she has the ability to make adult choices, that means she gets to pay adult consequences that I can't and won't rescue her from. So you needed to ask yourself the same thing. Am I willing to pay those consequences? Because they can be pretty significant. So there's always going to be an excuse to hurt yourself. There's always going to be a holiday, a birthday. There's always going to be some event, some reason to hurt yourself. Don't let pain or grief be an excuse to hurt yourself. Don't let holidays be an excuse to hurt yourself. I am always so grateful to the people who serve our country because I think about what they have to sacrifice. It's why I love that metaphor. They don't just take holidays off. They don't just give up because it's hard or because they're tired that day or whatever it is. They sacrifice so much. I mean, they pay the ultimate sacrifice. So when I think about that, I'm like, what? And I can't give up a cupcake? Well, for me, I've learned to make that cupcake. I've identified that cupcake with pain. So I've turned it around. For me, deprivation is not being able to have energy to be with my family. Deprivation means I don't feel good. I don't have energy to do the things I love, to be here talking to you, to travel, to write my books, to do, to go to Saddleback Church today and be able to serve in the way that I think that God gave me a second chance so that I could serve the people that he wants me to serve. So that for me is, I'd be deprived if I wasn't able to do that. So abundance for me is being able to do those things, and deprivation is that cupcake. So for me, that's how I turn it around in my mindset. You have to do it your way, but that's how I do it. Now, I have a perfect story that sort of is a great example of this, and I want to read it to you because it's a perfect warrior story. And this is actually, he's a real warrior. This is Jason. He's become a friend of mine. He, through all of this, I actually met him though, because he came to one of our clinics and he had ADD, he had a head injury, and he was an ex-Marine. He was working for the Department of Defense, and he wrote this to me after he got well. He came to the clinics, he had ADD and a head injury, and he got treated, he got scanned, but first thing they told him was, you need to change your diet. You need to lose weight, change your diet, because your lifestyle is really affecting your brain function. So he started working with me, but the first thing he said is, I travel too much, I'm on the road too much, I can't do this. I travel more than 200 days a year. And I kind of laughed, I'm like, well, so we travel a lot too. And I looked at him and I'm like, I thought Marines were tough. I'm like, maybe I was wrong. I'm like, I thought you guys were like really strong, really tough. I'm like, whatever. I thought, maybe I was wrong. He goes, oh my God, you're so mean. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm mean, but whatever. So a little time goes by, and all of a sudden I got this from Jason. He said, Tana, I love the way you throw it down. I'm on the road about 200 days per year and rarely in the same spot longer than 3 days. Like you said then, it's all about the preparation. I now make sure that every hotel room includes a refrigerator and that my itinerary includes directions from the rental car facility to a grocery store that is known to be open when I arrive. My focus has been a lot better, but even more noticeable has been my ability to have control over my food impulses and clarity of thought as a whole. For the first time since Marine Corps boot camp in 1999, I'm sleeping 7.5 to 8 hours every night. Just like everything else, my sleep schedule is scheduled with purpose. I love that. He schedules everything with purpose. Then he goes on to say, I'm working out. I call the day passes at the various gyms wherever I happen to be just part of the six-pack tax stolen from Tim Ferriss. Point being is that there are no more excuses for not working out or eating healthy regardless of where I find myself. As it stands now, I'm down about 35 pounds since Thanksgiving, about 6 weeks. So he did this during the holidays. And the entire experience has been almost easy and definitely fun. Not too bad for a holiday season. All areas of life seem to be opening up, and I don't think my gratitude has ever been so high. I'm getting my 20s body back and loving it. Truth be told, things are now easiest on the road. So much easier to plan for because there is a strategy that being at home, even which is great for me. So he has a better strategy than on the road than when he's at home because we came up with a plan. We worked on a plan together. Words can't describe the peace that comes with finally understanding things a bit more. I can't thank you enough. So I wanted to read that to you because it is the ultimate warrior story. He was a real warrior who had the same excuses that you have. We worked through them. We came up with a plan. Now, his plan is the same one that are in the books. We're going to be talking about him down the road. If you have the books, you can move ahead, but we will be talking about them. Jason is a real story. He did this during the holidays, and you can do the same thing if you discipline your inner child. I hope this has been helpful. Feel free to send questions. I will answer them as we go. I don't answer them while I'm doing this just because I want to be able to talk to you guys and get through the information. So have a great day. We have one more lesson on mindset before we move on. All right, take care. Bye-bye.